Hey everyone, and welcome to the King Angel Play Show, where together we react and discuss to a whole bunch of topics that range from mythology, history, uh, arts, and art books too. Vinyl showings, picture books, uh, murder mystery, true crime. Speaking of which, you know what day today is. Today's our Wednesday. Sorry, today's our True Crime and Murder Mystery Wednesday. And today is a real, yeah, it's one of those cases. It's one of those, I, I, I really hate this dude. Hate the case. I hate the everything that goes around it, like everything that is involved with it. The crime in and of itself is just fucking horrendous. Um, yeah. If you're not familiar with this case, it's actually pretty pretty famous case, especially in like the true crime murder mystery community. It's the Chris Watts case. Um, I wanted to do this case because uh, I've seen countless videos of it, and I just want to rip that band-aid off because eventually it would have to come to that, especially being that you know, a lot of the cases that we do cover here, especially the ones from that chapter, they are not necessarily well-known cases. Uh, this is probably one of the uh, well most known cases that I've covered so far on this true crime and murder mystery series. But yeah, I'm really excited. Excited to be here streaming, entertaining, and spending some time with you guys. Not too thrilled about the subject matter. I completely despise this person and everything this person did, and the damage that he caused is pretty big, pretty substantial. Uh, Before I continue, I am King Angel, your Bay Area variety streamer dude. At the same time, I'm a Bay Area dude, uh, looking to be your favorite variety streamer, and I am live on Twitch on Wednesdays for my true crime murder mystery, 7 p.m. PST, 10 p.m. EST. I'm also live Saturdays, 7 p.m. PST. Sorry, 10 a.m. PST, 1 a.m. EST. That's my morning show, my variety show. I have another live that I do, YouTube and Facebook Live. It's for my art and picture book showings and vinyl showings as well. That one I do on Tuesdays from 7 p.m. At 7 p.m. PST, 10 p.m. EST. So that's it's always great. I am all over social media. You can find me. Have a Facebook page, uh, Twitter. Please join my Discord. I am trying to grow that community as much as possible, and uh, together uh, we can make the best Discord out there. Uh, Also, shout out to the Koopa Troop. Their Discord's pretty big, but I want to grow a community of uh, people that share, like-minded individuals and whatnot. Um, like I said, that Discord channel, you can join. Uh, I'm also soon enough going to be doing the putting clips of my shows and stuff on TikTok as well. You have to go all across social media. That's how that's how it goes. So yeah, sometimes that's just have to take those extra steps to be able to expand as much as possible. Uh, but yeah, so happy to be here. Happy to be sharing this moment with everyone. Um, Last but not least, I do have a suggestion box. Uh, it's right in the about section. The only way I can grow as a streamer is with your constructive criticism. It is hot. I'm not gonna lie. It just hit me really quickly at how hot it has been all day long. It's been hot, but I was at the office, but now I just have the windows open, and I just realized it's pretty hot. Pretty hot. The summer's kicking ass. It definitely is. Um, but yeah, I have a suggestion box in the about section. Constructive criticism is extremely important for me. In order for me to grow as an entertainer, I would need your opinion about how I can improve better and how my show can, uh, you know, take those extra steps to being uh, better each time. That's like that's the whole idea. So I'm here to entertain you, and yeah, the only way I can do it is again with your constructive criticism. Uh, Thank you so much, everyone, for your continued support. It really means a lot to me. Uh, yeah, I guess I'll give it about 2 more minutes before we jump into this. Uh, we're gonna do first it's a brief explanation. It's a 10-minute video. It'll explain the case, lay the groundwork for it. Then after that, we're going to be watching this one's a little bit longer, and we'll be reacting and discussing to it together. And uh, it's a video about it's the police cam, but it's the body language that is obvious while you see this video. Like every step that this person took, every interaction that he had, and he had it with the cops, he had it with, you know, with his neighbor and whatnot, and it's all just like little tidbits that can give an indication as to kind of how kind of what was going through this person's mind after committing these crimes. Uh, Also, kind of gives you an insight on how he tried to basically outsmart the authorities, and he I think he for a moment thought that he was going to be able to get away with it. Turns out he didn't, and I'm grateful for it. I mean, I guess that's a spoiler to it. This is a really old case. This was 2018, but yeah, with that video, you can also see like how together we will be able to see again. Hey Nate, how are you today? Hope you're having a great day. We'll be able to see together and discuss. Just it's so noticeable, and the person that made the video does a great explanation. Does a great job at explaining just all the little bits where we should be looking, and what he did this, what he did in this instance, and why he did this, and it's extremely interesting, and I'm very happy that we'll be able to react to this together. My day's been great. It's been pretty good. It's hot. It's really hot up here in NorCal. It's scorching. I'm not gonna lie. But other than that, it's been a pretty great day. Had a great day at work today. Office was pretty smooth. Happy that I'm here tonight, streaming, and yeah, I think we should just jump right into it. This is not neither of the videos we'll be reacting to today are from that chapter, which is the one that I normally do the videos from. First video is from Coffeehouse Crimes. His videos are a little bit shorter, but they are pretty good. And then after that, the other video, I forgot who the other person that created the video, their name, but we'll be able to see it. But it's not that chapter, so it'll be a little bit different today. But yeah, without further ado, let us jump right into this case. Pause this music. All right. Smug face, dude. I hate this dude so much. Have you ever heard of this case, Nate? The case of Chris Watts? Or the Chris Watts case. I guess that's how we should say it better. All right. Let's do it.
Bella. Celeste.
No, I hear no sound.
If you're out there, just
Oops. Okay. Interesting. Sorry, I don't know what happened there with the audio.
Shanann, Bella, Celeste. If you're out there, just come back. Like, if somebody has her,
Nate, can you let me know how it
please
sounds?
bring her back. I need to see everybody. I need to see everybody
okay,
again. This house is not complete without anybody here. Please bring her back.
He was a successful family man, with a well-paid job, married to a beautiful wife, father to 2 children, with a third on the way.
Okay, so there's
But that wasn't enough for him. What caused Chris Watts to snap? And what happened to his family? My name is Adrian, and allow me to make you a fresh brew. Today we're looking at the annihilation of the Watts family, so sit back and relax. Let's investigate.
I'm surprised this video is so short though, because there's just so much to discuss about this.
About 30 miles north of Denver lies a small town in Weld County, Colorado. Frederick has a population of just 14,000 people. Originally a mining town at the start of the 20th century, Fredericktown now specializes in engineering, with employers such as JBS Swift, Vestas, and Anadarko Petroleum Corporation. And one of the resident families, the Watts family, lived on Saratoga Trail, a neighborhood on the outskirts of the city. There lived husband and wife, Chris and Shannon Watts.
Sweet. All right. I'm glad that audio problem there was able to get resolved. All right, yeah, so they're laying the groundwork for us.
And their 2 kids. Shannon Watts was a happy and proud mother. She was born in New Jersey on January the 10th, 1984, and she met Chris in 2010. The two had married by 2012 in Charlotte, North Carolina. From 2013 to 2016, Shannon was a nurse specialist at a local children's hospital. Shortly after, she became an independent representative for Lavelle, a company selling health and wellness products. Chris Watts was born on May the 16th, 1985. And although he jumped from job to job, he found his feet in 2017 working for Anadarko Petroleum Company as a operator. Chris and Shanann had 2 kids together. Bella was born on December the 17th, 2013, while Celeste was born on July the 17th, 2015. They were a happy young family. Although things were not perfect, trailing into 2015, Shanann was so excited to have a second child, partially because after her first child, Bella, she was diagnosed with lupus, a condition that causes joint pain, organ inflammation, tiredness, and skin rashes. And only 1 month before Celeste was born, Chris and Shanann filed for bankruptcy. Although the two were pulling over $90,000 a year, they couldn't keep up with their $3,000 a month mortgage or their $600 a month car repayment plan. There were feuds in the family too.
Hey Munin, thank you for joining chat. Yeah, it's the worst of the worst. So they're laying the groundwork. Just their birthdays, how old they are, relationship. They were, I guess he just mentioned that they were about to file bankruptcy, and yeah, again, just laying the groundwork here.
Chris's parents didn't like Shanann. They found her to be unreasonable and high maintenance. Chris's parents disagreed with Shanann so much, in fact, that they didn't turn up to their wedding. So the health and financial uncertainties caused a lot of arguments in 2018. But Shanann always put a brave face on for her friends and family. Her Facebook, still live to this date, is full of happy selfies and videos. In May 2018, she posted a live video on Facebook showing how much she loved and appreciated her family life. Another video shows her breaking the happy news to Chris that they're expecting a third baby.
I like that shirt.
It's the test.
That's awesome.
Don't act too excited there, mate. On June the 17th, 2018, Father's Day, she posted the following message to Facebook. The Watts family had their weaknesses, but then again, who doesn't? They seemed strong from the outside. What could possibly go wrong? Fast forward almost 2 months, and the date is August the 13th, 2018. Shannon's friend, Nicole Atkinson, had started to grow a little worried. Shanann had not replied to any of her text messages or phone calls throughout the morning. The two had actually just arrived home from a business trip to Arizona, getting home at around about 1:45 in the morning. Nicole knew that Shanann had a doctor's appointment later on that day, and she wanted to know how it went. But as those hours went by, Nicole's worry started to grow. She decided to drop by Shannon's house to make sure everything was okay. And after seeing Shannon's car in the drive and Shannon's shoes by the door, her worry grew even larger. Nicole knew about Shannon's condition with lupus, so she was concerned for her health. She decided to call the police. Shortly after, police arrive at the house to conduct a welfare check. Chris Watts also returns home from work and allows the police to enter the property.
Scott, how you doing? How's it going?
Inside, they find Shannon's keys, medication, phone, and purse, and soon after, her wedding ring. Chris then tells police that she told him before he left for work that she was going to a friend's house with the kids later that day, and that's the last he'd heard from her. He said that she was being very vague, but he left the house around 5:30 in the morning for work. By this stage, everyone was starting to get a little worried for Shanann and the kids. Next, the police and Chris Watts are invited over to his neighbour's house. Their neighbour, Nate, had installed a home surveillance system to capture any motion from outside his front door. Coincidentally, this also points towards the Watts house, and would record any motion detected from their driveway. At 5:27 AM, Nate's camera records Chris backing his truck up, partially into the garage. And while the back of the truck is out of sight, Chris can be seen loading items into the truck, including a tank of gasoline. Further to this, despite Chris's claim that his wife was going to a friend's house, the camera didn't pick up any motion of Shannon or the girls leaving later in the day. You're right there, Chris. You're starting to look a little nervous.
Know that
The next day,
So yeah, it's just I stopped it there just to discuss up until this point. Uh, so like I said before, yeah, they were gonna file for bankruptcy, a whole bunch of shit. Um, she was out of town with a friend. She arrived, I think it was between 2 and 3 a.m. Her friend was supposed to pick her up the next day to take her to her doctor's appointment because she has lupus. So that same friend that went to to the business trip with her, she is the friend that was worried about her because she was calling her again because she had to take her to her doctor's appointment, and Shanann, which is the his wife, Chris's wife, Shanann, uh, and she wasn't picking up the phone because she knew that her friend was, uh, has lupus, and she just ended up calling the cops. She ended up going to the house, and she called the cops as well because uh, she was just worried. And when she went to the house, her car was still parked there, but she never picked up the phone. So it was supposed to be a wellness check, a call, and cops arrived. They call Chris, and Chris takes about 5 to 10 minutes to get to his house. So that's basically it up until this point. I mean, they went into the house with the police. They were looking around. Then they went into the neighbor's house that was checking the security camera. Again, this is mostly just to lay the groundwork for the case. In the next video that we're gonna watch, we'll see this police video that we just saw, the tidbits of it, a little bit more in depth, because they start. It's a lot longer, so we get to see a lot more, and there's a lot that happens. So yeah, I'll hit play, and then we'll continue watching this breakdown.
on August the 14th, Chris appeared on a local news channel to appeal for the safe return of his family.
Kiss him to bed tonight. It was.
But, while this was going on, police were looking into the Watts family history, and how it turns out that actually, very recently, Chris was having an affair with another woman. During the interview, in an open question, Chris claimed that he wasn't romantically or sexually involved with anyone else. This alerted the detectives' suspicion. They had actually already interviewed Chris's new mistress, Nicole Kessinger, who confirmed to police that she had been dating Chris for the last few weeks now. Detectives also noticed Chris's broken alibi from earlier. Oops. So with 2 lies already identified, police, they really wanted that polygraph test. He failed it, miserably actually. Detectives were all over him.
So, it was completely clear that you were not honest during the testing, and I think you already know that.
I didn't lie to you on that polygraph, I promise.
Chris,
I know.
Chris, stop. It's time. Just stop for a minute. Take a deep breath.
There's a reason you feel sick to your stomach. We're not here to play games, we're not here.
The video that I am gonna go through is not. No, he did not. He most certainly did not. Yeah, no, he did not anticipate. I think that thought was completely erased out of his mind when he was loading the truck, because they already mentioned it. Yeah, when he was loading the truck, I don't think he thought about that. But what I was gonna say is, if you ever have the time, this video, this is not the video we're gonna watch. This is obviously the police interview after they get to the station. After he's arrested, and he's booked, but he's not booked yet. He's taken in for questioning. That video, if you can look for JCS, which is Jim Can't Swim, he does a psychological breakdown of it. Holy crap, it is so good. Long. It's a very long video. It's like a 1.5 hour video, but it's I think, well, I think it's like 1 hour video, but it's broken down in 3 parts. It is extremely interesting. JCS, Jim Can't Swim, he does a great job with uh, explaining it to you in layman's terms, like they say, the most like the complexity in like the human mind, especially when they're under a certain type of pressure, and it's really interesting. Like if you can check it out, it's a JC. I will. I'll post it on the. I will do. Will do. I'll post it on the Discord. Thank you very much for that, Munin. I appreciate it. I will. I will definitely do that. But it's really interesting. And he has other videos too, that are really. They're just really long because they're police interviews. But if you like videos like that, and you like this type of dude, the one for what's her name, Stephanie Lazarus, and that's actually one of the cases I'll be doing later on in the future. But her case, her interview, like this, that's a crazy one right there. So I'll post both of those on Discord. Moving on.
To do any of that with you, we just want to know what happened. It's not
I know.
even an option right now
I know.
because you did not pass the polygraph, so I know you were being deceptive. So I know you want to tell us. I can see it in your face.
After confronting him that he failed, they started interrogating him over his affair, over his wife, over his kids, over his emotions. Buckling under the pressure, and with no sufficient story to fall back on, Chris admitted to murdering Shannon Watts. He claimed that the motive for murder was rage. You see, apparently early that morning, he found Shannon Watts in one of the children's bedrooms, and there he found that she'd smothered them both to death. Chris's claim, though, that Shannon killed her kids was another lie, because 3 months later, before standing on trial, he also admitted to murdering both of his daughters. On November the 19th, 2018, Chris Watts was sentenced to 5 life sentences without the possibility of parole. He was given 2 life sentences each, per person under the age of 12 years old. So, what happened on the morning of August the 13th? The tale starts 3 days earlier, actually, where Shannon was still on a business trip with a friend Nicole in Arizona. The day before returning, Shannon had noticed on a shared bank account with Chris that he'd spent over $60 at a local restaurant the night before, on August the 11th. At the time, he actually claimed to Shannon that he was going to a baseball game with friends that evening, which Shannon sniffed out. She also knew how much a meal and a drink would cost at that restaurant, the Lazy Dog Sports Bar. And this bill, it added up to 2 people. The alarm bells in her head that Chris was probably having an affair at this point were probably ringing pretty loudly. In later interviews, Chris revealed that by the time Shannon arrived home early that morning, she knew something was going on with him and another woman. When she arrived home from a business trip early in the morning, she got into bed where Chris was already asleep. She initiated sex, they then slept into the early morning. And then, at around 4 AM in the morning, when the two woke up, Chris confronted Shannon about his affair and told her that he wanted to break up with her as soon as possible. This led into an argument between the two. Shannon was furiously upset. She ended the conversation by saying, "You're never going to see your kids again." Chris snapped. He straddled Shannon, put his hands around her throat and strangled his wife to death. Their daughter Bella, she walks into the room shortly after he's killed his wife, and she asks her father, "What's wrong with Mummy?" Chris tells Bella that Mummy's sick, but she'll be fine. He wraps Shannon in the bed sheets, drags her body downstairs into the truck, while Bella watches. Celeste is awake by now. Chris grabs Bella and Celeste, and he puts them in the truck, with their mother's body on the floor of the truck by their feet. They then drive 1 hour from their home to Survey 319, an oil well site that Chris frequents at work. And once they get there, Chris smothers both of his daughters to death, Celeste first and then Bella. He buries Shannon in a shallow grave just beyond the perimeter of Survey 319, and he dumps both of his daughters in individual oil well tanks. After disposing of the bodies, Chris then drives to work to start his shift. On the way, he looked up the lyrics to a song by Metallica, Battery, which contains the lyrics "cannot kill the family." He then makes several phone calls, one to the children's school to notify them that he's enrolling both of his kids out of school. He then contacts a realtor to start discussions on selling the house.
Hey Reaver Gameplays, thank you for joining chat. Hey Squirrel, how are you today? Full on. Thank you for joining chat. We are doing the Chris Watts case today. Hey Pepper, how are you? Dylan, how are you today? Hope everyone's having a great day. Bearded Bear, thank you for joining chat. So I don't know if you guys have ever heard about the Chris Watts case. That's what we're doing today. Killer, thank you so much for joining chat. SG, Innate, you were already here, Innate. SG, thank you for joining chat. Sludge, Bobbin, my dude. Well, yeah, I hope everyone's having a great day. Amy, hope you're having a great day. I'm sorry, it's just my stomach is just turning a little bit. They just got to the actual crime in the whole case, and it's fucking horrible. I don't know if you guys have ever heard again about the Chris Watts case. That's what we're discussing today. Yeah. So they just if you don't know, I'll give you a quick rundown. VGT, thank you for joining chat. I appreciate that. I'll give you a quick rundown before I hit play. It's a family, husband, wife, 2 kids, 2 daughters to be exact. Small children. One is like 4, the other one's like 2. They were having issues. He was cheating on her. Wife goes on a business trip with a friend. Wife gets back home like at 2 a.m. Has an argument with her husband. Her husband kills her and takes her and the 2 kids to a remote part of town. I'm doing pretty good, Squirrel. How are you doing? Skids, thank you for joining chat. I appreciate that. Oh, thank you so much for those biddies. Really appreciate it. But yeah, he takes them to the woods, to a remote part, and yeah, he does the same to the 2 kids, and he just dumps their bodies in 2 oil bins. And yeah, he's a pretty big piece of shit. I'm not gonna lie. This is one of the hardest to digest cases because, I mean, dude, the kids, man, they didn't have anything to do with it. All right, nonetheless, this first video is a short video, just a breakdown of the case. Next video that we're gonna watch is it'll be diving deep into like it's the police video, but we'll be able to. They're gonna describe a lot of moments where there's it's body language and how you can tell with his demeanor and his body language, just how guilty this person really was. Fun trivia fact. I have my trivia book. Trivia for the toilet. So I'll pick this one. That one's long. Okay, so the roar that we hear when we place a seashell next to our ear is not the ocean, but rather the sound of blood surging through the veins in the ear. Any cup-shaped object placed over the ear produces the same effect. Fun trivia fact of the day. Sweet. So yeah, that is the that's like the breakdown. I'm gonna hit play. So we're almost done with this video. We can get into the next video. Thank you very much. Thank you so much, everyone, for being here. And again, this is a True Crime Murder Mystery Wednesday. So subject matters a little bit 18 plus, let's just say.
And he then texts his new girlfriend to talk about the future with her. After Chris confesses to murdering both his wife and his 2 daughters, he tells police where they can find the bodies. Police would also later find the bed sheets that Shanann was wrapped up in before she was buried. So what was Chris's motive? Throughout the entire affair, Nicole Kessinger had no idea that Chris was still romantically or sexually involved with his wife Shanann. Chris told Nicole that they were in the process of a divorce. She had no idea that Shanann was pregnant for a 3rd time.
Thank you very much for those cheers.
Chris lied about everything. You see, Chris only started to get to know Nicole Kessinger from around about mid-June that year. And from the end of June, Shanann and the kids were on vacation for 5 weeks visiting Shanann's parents in North Carolina. Chris stayed home in Colorado to work, though I'm sure he was also excited to have the freedom to be able to date Nicole without the risk of getting caught by his wife. And around the same time, cracks started to show between Chris and Shanann's relationship. Shanann started to feel like Chris was distancing himself and felt uninterested in her. Often, he missed phone calls from Shanann, which made her feel anxious and upset. On July the 31st, just 2 weeks before he murdered his family, Chris flew to North Carolina to join them on their final week of vacation. But even after 4 weeks apart, he failed to show any sort of love or affection to Shanann, who in messages to friends shared her frustration on how uninterested he'd become in her. Things continued to go downhill in August, as you can.
You as well, just a couple gamesters. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much for those bits. Yosef, thank you for joining chat. You have a very good night, just a couple.
Tell. He reveals to her that he's scared of having a 3rd child, and that he doesn't feel it anymore. Shanann's final 2 weeks, more than 2 weeks actually, her final few weeks were emotional turmoil. All the meanwhile, Chris carried on playing Toy Boy with his new girlfriend. To this day, it's not entirely clear why Chris annihilated his family. The most likely motive is that he killed them only so he could get what he wanted, without having to go through financial or emotional ruin.
I mean, right now I don't even want to just like throw anything out there. Like, I hope that she's somewhere safe right now and with the kids.
A recent interview from Chris Watts in prison revealed that Chris was planning on murdering his family for quite some time. He also shared that time was moving so fast during the crime that a lot of his actions were impulsive and without thought. This included the moments that he choked both of his girls to death. It's impossible for Chris to get out of prison with his sentence. He will die behind bars. Serves him right. Stone Cold Monster. But a fun fact, you can actually buy the Watts family house if you wish, if that's your thing. Since their murders over 2 years ago, 2825 Saratoga Trail has remained vacant and empty. The property was originally put on the market for just over $600,000, but no one was interested in buying it for market value. Wonder why? The property was taken off of the market again a few months ago following the case's notoriety, but it could be back on for auction as soon as next month. Last month, Chris also shared that he hates the holidays in prison. No festive dinner around the family table for you this Christmas. It's bland turkey and potatoes in a cell.
Hey Tacos, thank you for joining chat. I'm sorry, I was letting the video finish. I'm going to move on to the next one. Yeah, what a human piece of garbage. Like, checklist, I mean, yeah. And you guys want to know something really funny? Not funny. It's not funny at all. But it's just like the irony of life. I don't understand. He gets like bags and bags of love letters. I'm like, yo, Ted Bundy, he used to get like love letters. Like people actually wanted to marry him. Like they wanted to have his kids when he was already in jail. Like he was already convicted. Like he was life in prison. Like he was already on the death row. and like they would send them like letters and stuff like that. Like I don't understand. I don't understand the human mind sometimes. There's actually a pretty good documentary that kind of dives deep into that, and it's they want to. There's a, I guess there's like a psychological explanation to why that happens, but yeah, and it just boggles my mind. But he gets like, dude, I'm like, this is on a daily basis. He gets like bags of love letters. Like people send him money. I don't understand. Like I don't understand. Oh, dude, yeah, straight up dumpster juice. Yeah, that's pretty good. Hell yeah. Well, that's exactly what he is. Dude, dumpster juice. Ugh. All right, so yeah, moving on with this video. This one now we'll jump into, like I said before, the body language of it. He really tried to play it off. This case was this was really wild, and I think that this is one of the most covered cases on YouTube. Like no lie, like everyone that does true crime at some point has covered this case or has talked about it in some way, because it's just it it's a very I don't even know how to explain it. It's just a very intense case because it's damn, like how can you do something like that? I don't know. Nonetheless, let's move it. Well, I'll hit play on this. So again, this is body language, uh and it's from the police video.
Witnessed the exact moments when police knew Chris Watts was guilty in his family's disappearance and the eventual found murder of his pregnant wife and 2 young daughters. We're going to analyze Chris's...
Right, because she was pregnant. I forgot to mention that part. She was pregnant. She had 2 kids. 2 daughters. Yeah. Hitting play.
His body language from police body cameras to show you when police knew he did it. This stunning insight is next. Welcome back to the channel. Derek Van Schaik here. Chris Watts is the northern Colorado man who eventually admitted to killing his pregnant wife and 2 young daughters on the morning of August 13th, 2018. Right now, you are watching Chris Watts cover up the scene of his crime by loading his deceased pregnant wife and 2 young daughters into the back seat of his work truck, which took him about 50 minutes that morning. His pregnant wife Shanann was found buried in a shallow grave in an eastern Colorado oil field where Chris worked, and the bodies of his 2 little girls were found dumped in oil.
Were you able to see it? It was on the corner, right where I guess the follower list is, I guess, blank, but you could see the movement behind it. That was him loading them. Cold-blooded indeed. 90s Pizza Guy, thank you for joining chat. Hope you're having a good night.
Oil tanks. I live just 40 minutes south of where all this happened, so this case literally hits close to home. At first, Chris Watts claimed his family was just missing, and that's where we're going to start. We're going to watch through police body cameras how this first day unfolded, and I'll point out Chris's body language, which caused police to really suspect he was guilty. Since cameras are now everywhere with doorbell cameras, police body cameras, and cell phone cameras, it's shocking to witness firsthand how everything unfolded and then unraveled quickly for Chris that first day. Now, let's get started.
How you guys doing?
Brother?
What's that?
Do you remember me?
Yeah.
Hey, man.
How you been?
Hi.
You Nicole?
Yes.
Okay. What's going on?
So my friend, we were out of town for a business trip this weekend.
All right.
And I dropped her off at 2 o'clock this morning. She's 15 weeks pregnant. She wasn't feeling well, and she had a doctor's appointment this morning at 9, and I told her to let me know if she needed me to take her. She's got 2 little girls, and she was very distraught over the weekend, wasn't eating normally or drinking, and we kept trying to force it on her because she's pregnant. Her husband and her supposedly are separating.
Shout out to this friend. Her. We need friends like this. If you have a friend like this, if you have one of those friends that worries a lot, keep them close. Keep them right there, because those are the type of people that you need. Like, I think I saw in an interview. I think they interviewed her once, and she said that yeah, her friend was looking out for her. That's 100%. She said that she she already knew the problems that were happening because the text messages that we saw in the previous video were between them both. Uh, so she was up to date with all the problems that were happening. But it's crazy how it doesn't necessarily have to be a family member for you to when you're close to someone, and it's not it's not like a big, but you can I don't know if Chad, has anyone ever experienced this, like kind of feel like something's not right. That's what she describes the reason why she uh, why she was so pressing in going to the house and seeing what was going on, because she was going to pick her up for a doctor's appointment, but even then, Shanann was pregnant, so if anything, she would have thought like, oh, maybe she's just sleeping. She fell asleep. She can't wake up, whatever. But exactly, great intuition. She was like, something's wrong. This isn't right, and she was the one that called the cops. So, yeah, just wanted to point that out. I'll be press and play.
But she didn't know this. She thought they were just having issues. He disclosed that to me today.
Okay.
Because I called him and I was like, have you talked or heard from Shanann since she left for work this morning? Because I can't get a hold of her. I've called, I've texted. Her car's in the garage. Her shoes she wears every single day are by the front door.
She only has one vehicle?
No, they only have the one vehicle in his work truck.
Okay, that's what I'm asking.
She
There's
took
not
the
a...
girls and went on a play date, but they're 4 and 2. She went on a play date. Why wouldn't she take in a car? They're both in car seats.
And Bella's so sweet, playing with her baby.
And she had a doctor's appointment this morning at 9, and she didn't go to the doctor's appointment.
Okay. No answer on the phone. Husband's on his way.
Minnie Mouse out there for Christmas. But it's been absolutely gorgeous here in Colorado, like always.
Supposedly, but he said that 30 minutes ago when I called him again, he said he was 45 minutes out still. And I know the code to the door.
You do?
I do, but there's a thing on it. No, it'll, even Chris knows you can do it. They have the thing flipped up here.
Oh. What about the garage door?
I don't
Is
know.
there... do you mind calling him and seeing if we can get a passcode to this and get me permission to go in?
Okay.
It's later revealed the garage door keypad doesn't work, so the only way to get into the house is using the remote garage door opener. Chris seems to have made it so no one would be able to go through the house while he was at work, just in case he thought of extra crime scene cleanup that needed to be done while he was at work.
I'm just going to check the back, see if I can see anything.
At this point, Officer Coonrod is logically thinking Shanann is having a medical emergency, which is why he's banging on windows to hopefully get her children to let them in to help her.
Yep. I've got to have more unless I get consent from him to go in.
So now we can slowly see how desperation is starting to kick in, and slowly, first it was a more calm kind of thing, what's going on now. Officers banging on the doors and windows, went through the back and everything. So now suspicion is starting to kick in. Okay.
Oh, no, I got a phone!
Yeah. You've got your Fourth Amendment rights to the house. I can't violate that. How you doing? You seen your neighbors today? No? Okay.
This is Nate, the next door neighbor with that security camera. Up until this point, of course, he had no reason to check his security camera footage.
Oh, we're just trying to get a hold of her. Felt like she wasn't feeling too good and pregnant, and they were just concerned.
Casey, don't be mean.
Shit.
I think he knows something's. he's already starting to know something's definitely not right. That whole, I mean, depending on how many years that officer has on the force, uh, he's probably already like if he's experienced that little thing in the back of his head is already starting to kick off. He's like, okay, this isn't right. Something's not right.
How am I gonna get in?
Now Ben is filling in Nate on what's going on and how this is all very odd, which is naturally getting Nate more involved.
Chris told me Shannon was at her girlfriend's house.
Do we know who that is?
Do we know who?
Or phone number?
He didn't say.
When did he tell you that?
Chris is acting funny. I don't get it. What did he say?
He told me that Shanann didn't take the girls to school this morning because she was going to go on a play date, but her car's here.
Hey guys. Hold on, I'm just hopping outside right quick.
What's Chris's phone number? Hey Chris, Officer Coonrod for the police department. Pretty good. So
I think you know what they were. Hey, Glorious, how are you tonight? Hope you're doing well. Thank you for joining chat. I think Munin that he. Well, that's the thing. Like he would have that. That's the next step that they're doing now. They're gonna call Chris, but he can't just go in the house like that without a warrant. Yeah, yeah. I mean, in a normal circumstance, like only, I think the law says that it's only the other person that is like owner. So then, if in this case, it would have been Chris. So that's the next step that the officer is doing now, which is contacting him. But I do understand what you mean, Munin. Well, yeah, but who? But consent from who? That's the thing. But I do understand what you mean. I mean, I think that I'm not sure. Maybe you're right. Maybe they should have just gone in and checked. But again, yeah, I understand where you're coming from. I understand where you're coming from, but I do think that it goes against. You know, they have to have like a search warrant or whatever the case may be. Well, I don't think that they've spoken to him yet. I think that was just like a small, like a recap or something. I'm not 100. I actually don't remember, but I know that as of right, mosquito. As of right now, I didn't get it. It flew away. As of right now, they're gonna call now. So, but I do understand what you mean. Let's see. Let's see what happens. Let's see. I'm gonna press play.
do you have any idea where your wife is?
Already, Officer Coonrod feels like Chris isn't taking this seemingly serious situation seriously.
Okay. Right. What my concern, sir?
Gotcha. Okay, so understood. So so maybe I overlooked that part. If that's the case, then yeah, they should have already gone inside the house. You're absolutely right. I'm trying to ponder the question, like why didn't they should have definitely gone into the house.
Is her car's here? They're saying she is diabetic. I don't want her if she's upstairs and can't respond. Okay. About how far out are you? Okay. All right. Thanks. He said like 5 minutes. So he's about here.
He's told us 45 minutes 2 times in a row. So he's just been giving us.
Oh, B knows who Chris Watts is. He knows. I think he's already heard me bitch about this person before. Because I remember where it was. I think it was in the Discord main chat. I had said it before that I really do hate this dude a lot. But yeah, I think Bowser knows. He knows the Chris Watts case very well. Or I think so. I'm not going to speak for someone, but I'm inclined to think he does. Very inclined.
False times and everything. And we know he's been lying because his stories aren't adding up.
Now, the police officer is receiving even more to build on that negative impression of Chris. Obviously, Chris's story of where Shanann and the kids could be is not adding up because he's lying and can't keep his story straight. But why has he been saying he's 5 minutes away for the past 45 minutes? It's likely because while at work, he thought of something that needed cleaning up and didn't want anyone to bust in before he was able to alter his crime scene.
I mean, I don't see anything out of place. I'm not hearing kids. I'm not hearing anything.
No, Cece. Clean up. Remember, clean up?
What's Shannon's number? I don't hear the phone ring or anything.
Yeah, man. The neighbor has a camera system.
Mm-hmm.
See how Ben is rubbing his palms together? That's a sign of positive expectancy. And in this situation, he's expecting information from Nate's camera that will help locate Shanann and the kids.
So he told us 3 different stories. So the neighbor over there said he has a camera.
Shannon, are you home?
This kid keeps me going.
Police department, if anyone's inside, make yourself known.
Is that airplane?
Police department, if anyone's inside, make yourself known.
Is that Bella?
Yeah, you'd think they were here, the kids or someone would respond though. You'd hear some kind of noise.
Look how cookie cutter this neighborhood looks. Like, this is like suburbia. It's fucking crazy. Like, you wouldn't even think that's something like, you're like driving by and it's like a regular old house, and without even thinking that, dang, something's as bad. I don't know. I just find that to be crazy. Like, something as bad as that happened there. It's insane. No wonder the house never sold again. That cop was loud. I was loud. Yeah.
When Chris finally gets home with the police officer standing right there, he goes to the passenger side of his truck to get something? The officer must be thinking she could be dying in there. Why didn't you just quickly hit the button to open the garage and sprint into the house to find out if your family's okay?
I'm here. Hang on.
Yeah, get me on the phone.
Okay, get Matt.
Scott, how you doing?
How's it going?
So this is the only vehicle she would have?
Only one that, yeah.
She would drive? Okay.
More diddle-dallying. Instead of running into the house, he goes into his wife's car to either put something into her car or take something out. Regardless, it's very likely he did something that he thinks will help cover his tracks or make it appear he's less guilty.
There's no way you can look for today? During the daytime?
Now, neighbor Nate is beginning to search through his security camera footage. Everything's already headed downhill for Chris Watts.
Chris is in the house. We're standing outside the security box. Can we go in the house?
Chris was alone in the house for 1 minute and 15 seconds. I think it's safe to say that he wasn't looking under the beds for his family during that time.
I mean, that's up to him. It's his house. If you guys...
Nikki, I'm giving you permission to walk in my daughter's house.
Mind if I come in, Chris? Okay. You checked upstairs? She's not there? I just want to make sure she's not passed out somewhere. You mind if I look around?
Go ahead.
Okay, thanks.
Upstairs is when Chris's performance really begins.
I mean, at this point, if I were the officer, my spidey senses would have already been tingling a very long time ago. I mean, it would have. It's a pretty big house, yeah. I would have already. It would have already started the moment that he took his time to get to the house. But as soon as he arrived and went straight to the SUV, and then, I mean, think about it. 1 minute and 15 seconds may not seem much, but when you're like, I mean, when you have a lot of pressure on you or you're stressed, a minute is it seems like it's a long, it feels like a long time. When it comes to a crime, a minute can mean a lot because you can do, you can't like, I don't think you can like do like much, but in a minute you can look through things. You can kind of check to see if everything's okay. It's more than enough time to make it extremely suspicious. Yeah, when someone is dying, a minute is a long time. If you want to compare it to that, yeah. I think you can only, like, if you were to burn yourself, like, you can only, there's only a certain amount of time you can last before it starts hurting. So, and it's a lot less than a minute. So a minute is it's a long time depending on the situation. In this case, it's an extremely long time. Like, what are you doing for a minute and 15 seconds? Like, again, if I were the officer, my spidey senses would have already been tingling a long time ago. Let's see if it tingles even more now.
Oh. Well,
All the girls' blankies are gone. Their blankies they sleep with, they don't leave anywhere without them.
Good.
What you'll notice is how Chris throws in diversion evidence and diversion dialogue, which he thinks will help divert people from looking at him as suspect number one and start to believe the ridiculous story that his family just vanished.
Nothing else appears to be missing, though. Just stuff you'd take for a quick trip.
Her phone's here? Her phone's here.
Does she work?
Yeah, she works from home.
Oh, from home?
See how Nicole just flailed her left hand right after she touched Shanann's phone? It was as if Shanann's phone burnt her hand. It's because touching Shanann's phone made the likelihood that Shanann is in danger very real, and it was very emotionally painful for her to touch it.
She works this is her lifeline.
It was shut down?
She's in the flight. Yeah.
The officer knows people just don't shut down their phones in their own home. This is adding to the officer's suspicion of Chris.
You know her passcode?
I don't know her passcode.
It used to be 2385, but now it's 6 digits.
It's the baby's due date.
Now, the officer is asking him questions to understand whether he has a decent alibi to decide Chris's level of involvement in all of this.
And then she flew out to Arizona Friday morning, and then she got back last night. About 2 a.m. The flight got delayed. She left about 11. She got here at 2.
Okay.
And I went to work this morning about 5:30.
Do you guys notice his demeanor? This is not the way someone would react if you couldn't, like, if your wife and kids were not home and were like missing and they weren't picked up. Like, if you found your wife's phone at your house, in the house that you have, and she's not there and your kids are not there either, like, I'm pretty sure this isn't the reaction that you would like. His whole demeanor already, and the way he's carrying himself, it's just no panic at all. I mean, the way he grabbed the phone, the explanation she gave in regards to the explanation that the narrator gave in regards to her best friend when she touches the phone, and he just grabs the phone, and it doesn't seem like this person is, he doesn't care. This person doesn't care at all. This is cold-blooded, master level. Like, it's no, it's crazy how cold-blooded this person is. But you can tell just by his body language. It's just red flags all over the place. Unbelievable.
Notice the officer's left hand. It's up to his face, and it's up to his face a lot here on out. But we don't know where it is exactly on his face. If his hand is on his cheek or high chin area, it's a sign of evaluation. If it's on his chin, it's decision. But if it's covering his mouth, it's likely he thinks Chris is lying. We sometimes cover our mouths when we don't like what's coming out of someone else's. Have you ever covered your mouth when someone else told you bad news?
Can you look at your camera to see from your security system to see when she left?
It's us who left out the front door.
Very typical of someone who's guilty. Chris is coming across as very negative and not at all proactive. When we lose something or someone we really want back, even long shot ideas always seem worthwhile trying. Chris is hardly giving any ideas or jumping on any reasonable suggestions.
Where do you kids go to school at?
Primrose and Vista Ridge.
This could have been a little test thrown at Chris by the officer. He may have wanted to see if Chris would jump on the idea to call the school because they were originally supposed to go to school that day.
I have no clue at whatsoever why she wouldn't take her cell phone.
Notice Chris and Nicole are both acting scared and nervous with a lot of pacing around and nervous fidgeting. But there's a huge difference between the two. Chris's nervousness is directed inward for himself because he's nervous he'll get caught. Nicole's nervousness is directed outward because her friend appears to be in danger.
I'm at a loss for, I don't know where she's at, where the kids are at.
That's his line. If he were a pull-string doll, that's what he would say.
I have no inclination of where they're at right now. I have no idea like where they went. I have no inclination of where she is. I don't have no inclination of where she is.
I don't know if they'll mention it in this video, but that is an interview that he gave the day after he reported, the day after this. He gave an interview to TV stations, and I mean, it's like, my dude, why? See, you could obviously tell. It's like, yep, guilty. There was no, you couldn't even question it. Extremely guilty. You can kind of tell in that part. I'm not sure if they'll show the interview here, but if they don't, check it out. It's all over YouTube as well, so you can see it. It's really interesting. But the question is, like, why put yourself into that situation? He's a psychopath. Like, he's a narcissistic socio-psychopath. I'm not even sure if that's a thing, but if it's not, I just made it up because it seems kind of fitting for him because there's just so many things. On top of that, he's a cold-blooded murderer. No remorse at all. Not one bit, innate.
Immediately, she looks at Officer Coonrod in a look of shock realization that Chris must be involved. I'm sure the officer gave Nicole a similar look, but more muted. Nicole holds her chin while looking at Chris in a sign of decision. Now she rubs the front of her neck in self-comfort due to the troubling news. So, what's Chris's reaction to that shocking news? Watch this. Chris just says, okay. He knows that news makes him look very guilty. Chris tried to brush aside that shocking and troubling news to downplay its importance in front of the police officer. But the officer saw what Chris was trying to do, so now Chris's guilt has become very obvious. Now it seems Officer Coonrod throws Chris a little test to see how guilty Chris really feels. As you just saw, he walked a few feet behind Chris, and if you never saw a man shit his pants, watch this.
Dispatch Work 91, you can cancel.
Look at that terrified look on his face. He thought the officer was radioing him in to arrest him right there.
Medical if they're staged.
Chris buries himself even more in his phone to escape the tension he's feeling, likely texting love messages to his secret mistress. Yep, more playing with his phone instead of figuring out solutions to find his family. The police officer, of course, is taking all of this in, and it looks like his hand is higher up on his face now, likely covering his mouth at this point in shock and disagreement with what Chris is saying, not saying, and how he's acting. Now, some light fact-finding and interrogation comes.
So what time do you work?
Usually, once I get to work, it's like 6:30 to 3:30, 4 o'clock.
You usually work nights or days?
Days.
What time do you leave the day?
What time I leave there?
No, here.
Usually between 5:30 and 6.
Right. And was Shannon here then?
Yes. Yeah, she's still in bed.
Does she usually watch the kids, or you have daycare watch them? Or?
She usually watches the kids if they're not.
They actually do say that he was texting the chick that he was cheating on his wife with. He was texting her in this moment while he was standing in front of the officer. I mean, there's not that. I don't think it's been like confirmed, but that's like the rumor has it that you can't arrest people on probable cause. There has to be like but you can definitely take them in for interrogation. Saying what though? Supposedly he was like texting her like what was going on. But there's like there's a lot of like things that and it makes sense. A lot of the things do make sense. Like there's a lot of theories that say that Nicole, which is the side chick, that she had a bigger role to play than what people want to admit, and that he didn't act alone. Now, there's theories that say that he couldn't have carried the body alone. That there's another one that says that when he arrived to the house, that she was already like in the back seat or something. I don't know. People like to. There's a lot of different theories at this point. Given the crime, I wouldn't be surprised at all that she was involved. Yeah. Like they can take him in for questioning, but until they actually charge him with the crime, they can't actually like arrest him and detain him there for it. So yeah, you have to wait until you're actually convicted. Moving on.
The pool! To anyone who doesn't know what Chris knows, that's a logical possibility of where she and the kids could be. They could walk to the community pool. Some people don't bring their phones to the pool. Also, very little clothes or objects get taken to the pool. So that would explain why things aren't missing. It's a hot day in August. That's where they could be. Now let's watch Chris's response to that idea.
At the pool?
Yeah. The little rec center thing right here?
There's a pool right down there.
Yeah.
I can run down there and check.
That's his response for a logical place they could be? He's like, I don't want to have to walk outside. It's hot out there. Stop interrupting me while I'm texting my girlfriend. Did Chris really think he can just say, I don't know where my family's at, hang back, text his mistress girlfriend, and get away with annihilating his family? Chris Watts must seriously be the dumbest person on earth.
Dude, I would have been with the cops like, we need to mobilize. Like, yeah, let's fucking go. Like, you need to call like the squad. You need to call as many cops as you can. We need to go do this. But this response, like this was, this dude's out of his mind. It's like what did you think was gonna happen? It's like you have a family, dude. It's like it's your wife and kids. She was very Shanann was very active on social media. She had a lot of followers too, so she used to do like vlogs and stuff like that. So people like, it's not like she lived under a rock and no one knew who this person was. Like people knew who she was. She had family members, she had friends. So it's like my dude, what did you think was gonna happen? You didn't think anyone was gonna notice? A lot of like the majority of the cases that I've seen, it's like that. It's like, what did you think was gonna happen? Like, I don't understand. Like you have kids. What did you do? You think no one was gonna notice that your kids and your wife wasn't around anymore? Poof, that's it. They just disappeared. Come on now, crazy, crazy.
It's obvious Chris doesn't want them back, so the officer now asks Chris about marital issues.
You guys having any kind of issues, marital issues, or?
We're going through separation.
You are? Did you guys file it yet or anything, or just talking about it?
No, we're gonna sell the house and do a separation.
And how's that going?
It's going
Civil for the most
civil,
part, or?
Then goes back to the pool idea to understand why he's not jumping on a real possibility of where he could find his family.
Does your wife go to that swim pool often, or
it just depends. I mean, on a hot day like this, I would say no.
Yeah, okay, Chris, because people go to outdoor pools on cold days. He's just making excuses so he doesn't have to walk outside on a hot August day. But Chris thinks what he's saying seems believable because he thinks everyone, including the police, are as stupid as he is.
Says at 5:27 a.m.
I'll give you the worst, but dumbest. Dude, there's some dumb people out there. Like there are some dumb like murderers and criminals. Like, really bad. Really bad. So I'll give you the worst, like I said before, but dumbest, that shit spreads a little more than just this one. Like there's some really dumb ones out there.
And the overhead garage door too was left open and never shut. About that time. So either like when I pulled away and shut the door, it never shut. It was shut when you got here. So either the sensor was tripping out.
Chris now provides miscellaneous info to divert, cover his tracks, and in his mind, make himself seem more innocent. Now, Chris walks into the bedroom, but for what? Well, it's his big reveal. Watch this. Yep, Shanann's wedding band. But look at how he's holding it. Far away from his body on the tip of his pointer finger, as if he's presenting it to Nicole on a stick, clearly indicating with that body language that he doesn't want any part of what that wedding band represents. Did you notice his lips sucked in right there? That's his way of holding back a duping delight smile.
Does she do her work from a laptop, or is it just from the phone? It's not a joint account.
It's a joint account, but like she controls all of it. Like she doesn't let me do the finances because I was pretty horrible back in the day, so she just kind of handles all that and she does it. I have the apps on my phone, but I don't have her login to get into it.
More excuses for inaction. The officer sees that Chris doesn't want to find them, but of course they need to be found whether he wants them to be found or not. So the officer starts asking more questions to take charge.
What days does she typically do work? Where are they based out of? Does she have someone that she reports to, though? There was no note or anything by the wedding ring? Is any of her clothes, anything like that missing? It didn't look like she went through and packed up a bag or anything. Tell you anything about leaving, moving out?
Not moving out. I mean, the last time I talked to her was this morning. She said she was going to take the kids to a friend's house, and she asked where she was going to be. And then I've texted her today. I've never heard anything. But the car's here. Car seats are here. Unless somebody came and picked her up. But the people that I know, nobody's heard from her. Nobody's seen her.
Right.
That, of course, was a bold-faced lie. But did he seem believable to you? First, body language of what he did okay. Making good eye contact and showing open palms. But he did a lot of subtle things which indicated a lie. Watch again.
The last time I talked to her was this morning. She said she was going to take the kids to a friend's house, and she asked where she was going to be. And then I've texted her today. I've never heard anything. But the car's here. Car
Right.
seats are here. Unless somebody came and picked her up. But the people that I know, nobody's heard from her. Nobody's seen her.
Right.
So, what do you think? First, his eye contact wasn't natural and was holding it to see if the officer was buying what he was saying, especially at the end. Second, overuse of hand gestures. He did this to overcompensate for his lie and try to come across as more convincing. Third, notice the shakiness in his voice, a lot of atypical stuttering, stammering, and pausing. Fourth, incongruency between his tonality and his words. There's no sign of shock, sadness, or being scared.
You're very right, Tacos. Like shit ain't going on. He's I feel like he's talking to the officer as if he's talking to just like some random person about something that happened to both of them. That wasn't like really that big, but they're just like conversing about it. It surely does not seem like this is someone that's worried about his wife and 2 children that have gone missing. It's Again, if I were this officer, I would have my red flags. That's all I see around him are just like red flags sticking around. And every time he does something, it's just one that pops up, pop, 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 and it's red flags everywhere. I don't even know what to say.
Smart, just drive around, see if I mean.
Here, Chris's smile is so out of control, it's disgusting.
Probably not, because, I mean, you don't know what car she's in, where she's at. I mean, obviously you're not going to see her car. It's here.
What is there to smile about? Your pregnant wife and kids are missing. That's what the officer is thinking.
I've got my detective coming, just because this is kind of an odd situation.
The officer mentions calling in his detective, but excuses it as the situation is just odd. Police don't want to scare a suspect into thinking they're a major suspect, because the last thing they want is their suspect number 1 to hire a lawyer and shut their mouth. Police need to keep their top suspect optimistic of walking free, so the suspect keeps talking and providing information.
Tell him I'll be there in just a minute.
Next, they go into the neighbor's house to watch the security footage for the very first time.
What's that?
And here's neighbor Nate again, and Chris Watts is standing right there beside the TV. This part is unbelievable.
Loading my stuff up in my coolers, my water jugs, my book bag, my computers.
Really quickly, just watch Chris. Well, no. I think that in his mind, innate, he thinks he's getting away. Up until this point right now, he thought, I'm gonna get away with this. Like this is happening. Like I'm gonna get away with this, and it seems like it's going my way. And in his mind, he thought, oh, they're buying this story, even though us, the audience, watching the police video can obviously tell that the police officer and everyone else there they were not buying it. But I think he thought that he was going to get away with it. But now that thought's going to be slapped out of him, like not physically, but you'll see his demeanor and his face. So just try to look at him. Keep an eye on Chris here.
Some of the tools that I had from the toolbox, I knew I was going to have to do some pumping into rubbers today.
Keep in mind, this is just 12 hours later. He's now watching himself, for the first time, cover up his murders, with a police officer watching along with him. He's about to shit himself.
That's why I was out so far.
Is this on continually recording?
Notice Chris's nervous gulp as Officer Coonrod confirms his interest in the footage. Notice his face is getting shiny with sweat.
Yep. Well,
it's not. Is it motion or is it?
Event,
Okay, so it's motion.
Any motion event that happens, but I get cars driving from this street, and this is him at 517.
Chris is burying his head into his phone to mentally escape where he is right now. Yes, it's likely he's texting his mistress girlfriend to keep himself distracted. Also, notice how close he's holding his phone to his body. Very defensive body language, which actually increases the likelihood he's texting his secret mistress. Constant defending and explaining implies guilt. Notice how he looked completely away from the TV to the door with a deep breath. But what does that all mean? Many things. First thing, he doesn't like what he sees on the screen. Now, this may sound too simple, but it's true. We look away from things we don't like, and we look at things we do like. This includes automobiles, homes, jewelry, and even security footage. Second, the fact that he looked all the way around to the front door shows that he wants to get out of there. Third, very deep breath. Fight or flight instinctual defense mechanism kicked in. This naturally happens when we feel threatened. Our body's heart rate increases quickly in preparation for a fight or to run away. Now, Chris puts his hands on top of his head in an attempt to calm down so he can appear less nervous. Have you ever seen a marathon runner strike this pose when they cross the finish line? It's to open up the airways to allow for maximum airflow to calm their heart rate down. Chris is doing this to reduce his signs of nervousness. Even someone as dumb as Chris knows he can't show how nervous he really is when watching himself act suspicious on the security footage, because that's a huge red flag he's guilty. Now, swaying back and forth in nervousness while watching himself pull his truck partway into the garage, which was of course to create cover for loading his family's bodies into his truck. Notice his lips are tightly pursed, which indicates withholding the truth.
So maybe he didn't, I guess he did know that his neighbor's camera was on and that it was recording him. So that is interesting right there. I think I said at the beginning of the video, at the beginning of this video when we ended the previous one, that there was that I guess he didn't know about that camera. Seems like he did know, and he parked the truck in a certain way so that the camera couldn't pick up what he was loading into the truck. So that makes him even more cold-blooded. It's crazy.
His heart rate here is so high due to nervousness, he felt the need to hold at least one hand over his head at all times. His nervous swaying back and forth is so over the top. It's like he's slow dancing with himself. Now he's looking away, thinking of something in a blank stare. I like to think he's wondering whether or not he'll ever be allowed conjugal visits, or if it's just going to be Bubba. What do you think Chris is thinking about? The length of silence here says so much. Because what do you say when you're watching a likely murderer watch himself cover up his murders, which were committed that morning?
Because if there was any sort of action out there,
his camera's
I would have got it.
Right.
Sunglasses fall because the sweat that formed on his head reduced friction for them to stay up. Also,
he went from cool and collective and thinking that he had the whole situation under control. I mean, I'll be honest with you. the last thing that he thought was that his neighbor was going to get involved. Like, I think that, again, he really thought that he was going to get away with it way before that officer called him. I think he thought he was a free man and that's it. He had committed the crime, and he was never going to get caught, and he was going to live the rest of his life with the side chick and that whole thing. And we can, like, the last 2 or 3 minutes since he entered this neighbor's house, it has just been the downfall of this person. And just seeing, again, from a cool and collective demeanor, now we're reduced to whatever the sack of nerves is. I mean, you can tell the sweat on his forehead. Again, the way he was holding his hands on his head, he was moving, swaying side to side. Yeah, he knows now, or he's in the he fucked around. He's in the found out stage now. Like, he's finding out that it's not necessarily the way he thought it was going to be. Moving on.
Incredible nervousness caused him to be less spatially aware.
We had issues the other week when people were stealing stuff out of like garages and stuff like that, and I had parked my truck right here. Yeah.
This is a typical sign of a liar, which is diverting. When a liar is being pressed on a key issue, they'll start to talk about other somewhat related things in great detail, which accomplishes two things. First, it makes the liar come across as open and honest because they're surrendering information. Second, they're able to avoid talking about the key issue in which they're guilty of or lying about.
I can see where someone tried to jimmy with a flathead screwdriver.
Chris is showing little to no interest in using Nate's camera to figure out where he can find Shanann and the kids. Chris is treating this as his time to defend himself.
Over there, and it was just like...
But if any action would have happened, any cars or anything left your house, I would have...
Yeah, it would have been like right in that area. They should have picked...
Oh, it'll pick up anything coming down the street this way.
You know where that tree there too?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
So, unless they pulled right here,
yeah.
But I would have caught her walking out.
Chris looks away completely in defeat because he knows all video evidence points to him.
Nothing for the rest of the day.
No, that's it.
Coincidentally, how babies are born comes up on Nate's TV, and of course Chris seizes on that idea to make it appear he's concerned about the safety of his pregnant wife. Watch.
She's pregnant as well.
It's like he says what he thinks he should say based on what he saw in movies, not based on the empathy he feels or even could imagine feeling. Very typical of someone with antisocial personality disorder.
How far along?
14, 15 weeks.
I'm fast forwarding, but you can still see him sway back and forth with his lips sucked in and his arms folded in tightly to his body. That signals Chris is giving himself as much self-comfort as possible while standing.
So nothing, no cars came through because I guarantee with the headlights, it picks up the headlights automatically.
And
I think meaning that at that point, I don't think he wanted that heat anymore on him. So he just, like, he was just trying to divert the conversation into anything else. I think that's why he was talking about, like, the fact that Shanann was pregnant and that whole thing, because he just wanted to divert everyone from that, because you don't need that. But yeah, they didn't ask any further than he didn't ask anything else. Like, I'm pretty sure that's the last thing he would have wanted to ask, though.
And it said that at 5:27, my garage door was left open.
Why is Chris now talking about a faulty garage door sensor? Yep, diversion.
It says it was shut during the day, but I think when Nikki's son, he may try to move the door around maybe when they were trying to get in the garage door, and it probably broke the laser there.
And what does that have anything to do with finding your pregnant wife and 2 kids? Yep, just diversion.
And our remote on the outside doesn't work anymore. It got wet.
Chris is trying everything he can to avoid talking about the real issue. How did they leave the house if the only way to leave the inside locked house was from the garage door that has a motion sensor camera on it? Obviously, he wants to stay far away from that topic.
All right, appreciate your time.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks. Hopefully something comes up here. Yeah.
If you just want to go talk to him, I'm going to get his info real quick.
Now we get to find out what neighbor Nate really thinks. Watch this.
No.
Apparently, Nate was doing a little body language evaluation on Chris during all of that.
He never loads his stuff in and out of the garage ever.
Right.
And it doesn't look like he came from right here. It looks like he came from down the street. And then the other thing that doesn't make sense is why would he pull past this part? You can see him pull past.
Are you able to record this?
Uh-huh. But watch, you'll see him get out. And he walks back and forth a couple times. To be completely honest with you, my wife and I were kind of wondering when she was on vacation if something happened, because I've heard them full out screaming at each other at the top of their lungs, and he gets crazy.
Does he? And that's pretty recently.
Yeah.
That's not the always calm and easygoing Chris he was leading everyone to believe.
It just seems kind of odd to me. Why would he pull the truck up into the garage? If he loads his stuff, he normally just walks back and forth, because I get him on camera.
What does he usually load up?
All he usually has is a lunchbox and a book bag, looks like a computer, and usually a water jug. That's it.
Yep, Nate was referring to Chris's baseline and how this morning's actions drastically deviated from that baseline.
He doesn't look worried. He looks like he's trying to cover his tracks. But I can't see what he's doing in the back of the truck because he pulled into the garage. And he knows my camera's there.
Yep, that's how Shanann and the kids left the house, and they know it.
Dude, shout out to those neighbors. I mean, that dude went above and beyond. And I think that it was extremely, extremely crucial to the case. What he did. And I mean, let's not forget that he did it in front of Chris Watts. Like, it's not like he called the cops later on and was like, oh, let me show you this. No, that dude brought him into his house. Hell yeah, win for those neighbors. He brought him into his house. Him and the cop. He's like, I'm going to bring you both in. Let's see the security camera. Because he had already seen it. He was just going to show them, oh, this is what I found. So, shout out to that neighbor. Because we need more people like that. That would just jump on stuff like that, and yeah, I guess you gotta be watchful, gotta be mindful of things, gotta be consistently like watching like your community and stuff like that. You never know. In that case, they lived in suburbs and stuff. They all have cameras, so shout out to this dude.
The truck's in the garage right now. And he never backs his truck into the driveway ever. Hey, he's acting so suspicious. He's normally, you can ask them, he's normally quiet, real subdued. He's over here telling you 3 times what he took out, what he did. He's very, he never talks. So the fact that he's over here blabbing his mouth makes me kind of suspicious of something.
Yeah, but I mean, put yourself in his situation.
Oh, I agree.
Anyone's going to be nervous. You don't know what to do.
Wait, did Officer Coonrod completely buy what Chris was saying? I think the officer was trying to not let on to anyone knowing that police think Chris is very guilty. Because police can't risk anyone knowing that they're onto him, since it may get back to Chris. If Chris feels they're after him, he may stop open dialogue with police, lawyer up, shut his mouth, and test his luck with a jury. Then what are the chances of finding Shanann and the girls? Yes, much smaller. Have you ever noticed police never aggressively accuse? They never say things like, everyone knows you're guilty, just admit it. Who would want to open up to someone like that? Law enforcement wants to come across as your friend, where they empathize with you, and sometimes even appearing to side with you, so you voluntarily share information with them. That's the most effective way for law enforcement to solve cases. Police quickly knew Chris Watts was guilty because his body language showed little to no interest in finding his wife and 2 little girls, and even came across as happy that they were gone, because sadly, that's what he wanted, a new life without a wife and kids. His nervous body language, especially watching his neighbor's security footage, also gave him away, because as much as he tried to hide it, it was obvious he was guilty and was scared of getting caught. Now in the comments, what do you think Chris Watts was thinking about when he was watching his neighbor's security footage? Let everyone know in the comments below. Give this video
let everyone know in the comments below. Dude, that was fucking awesome. That was great. Thank you so much, everyone, for being here. That case was kind of glad I got that one out the way, because it's really intense. I mean, yeah, the whole thing, his whole body language. I would have loved to go to school for that, like to be able to learn more in depth how to be able to catch those things, and like be like I would have wanted to be like a criminal investigator or something like that. Hell yeah, I mean, I would have done some if different circumstance, like another person would have tried to do everything possible to get authorities involved, or get the, try to, mobilize action. You have to do something, but my dude did he had none of that at all, which sucks, because it only cost, like, the only ones that suffered there were the, like, Shanann and the kids. Sucks. RIP to them, to those 2 little girls, to the unborn, and to Shanann, the wife, and to him. I fucking hate that dude. I wish him the worst. The worst of the worst. Thank you, everyone, for being here tonight. I want to thank Munin and Nate. Thank you so much for sticking through the whole thing. This was a bit longer than what I normally do, but I really wanted to cover this part, especially the body language one. I just found it so interesting. His sentence was, he received 3 life charges, and I'm not sure if I think he didn't get the death sentence, but I know that he has 3 consecutive life. He has 3 life sentences that are consecutive. So his spirit would still have to serve 2 life sentences before seeing the light. It's not the light of day, because he's gonna be dead, but the light. No, yeah, no, he's in jail. Like, he has to be. I think I remember reading he has to. They have him maximum security, because if they release him he's already been released, like, inside of the prison with other inmates, and they've tried to, like, kill him a few times, so they keep him in, like, maximum security. Yeah. I mean, a great ending to what is overall a very tragic case. Oh yeah, hell no, no parole, nothing of the sorts, nothing. He will be there for the rest of his natural life. Yeah. Anywho, thank you very much for being here. Like I said before, I really appreciate it. Appreciate everyone's continued support. We will rave. I will raid Reaver. I see him online, and he is playing Black Ops Cold War. This was the King Angel Play Show. Thank you so much for being here. Have a great night. Peace out. Let me start this raid. And goodbye.